Where do you think, I guess you could call it a problem, where do you think the problem started? Like, why do you think that problem existed? What happened in history that chain of reactions that now we're learning from that lens? In Singapore, they're learning from that lens. And the United Kingdom, they're learning the American Revolution in a very different way.
Very different way.
The Americans learn the American Revolution.
That's very true. Yeah, well, I think there's part of it that, you know, when countries are established, and we're a very young country, right? In comparison to a lot of the rest of the world, we're very young. We don't have like a strong, thick, like ingrained history necessarily. Like we do have a few hundred years, but I think there's a sense of, just like anything in life, like you want to put your stake in the ground. So just like, you know, your life, like you want to have your own story. So you say like, I don't want to be just like my parents. I'm not going to do the exact same things that my parents did, right? I'm going to take what I learned from different places and I'm going to make my own story. And we're going to stick to that so that you're unique. So I think there's part of that. Like, you know, we wanted to obviously separate ourselves from different rule. We wanted to be our own country. So I think that it started at that point to say, we are unique. This is the way that we do it, right? And here's what we're going to teach, so that we kind of incorporate pride into our teachings, and because you know who this is and you're proud of, like, oh, this is who we are, right? Like we know what we know because this is our story. So I don't know. I don't necessarily see it like as a problem per se, but more of a like, that's kind of how we established ourselves, right? We wanted to set ourselves apart as different. And just like I've tried to create a unique life, you know, as much as I can for myself, I think it's the same sometimes when you think about, you know, an entire country. Yeah. That's my answer to that one.
But I also wanted to like show you one word and what you thought of it, how it pertained.
Word association.
This may pertain to the topic at hand.
Okay.
And there's one word I think you should know.
I'm scared of this word. What is it?
Imperialism.
Okay.
Imperialism.
So what do I think about it?
How would you think that resulted in why, you know, we have the different ways that we teach, why there is such a... Now you find that because of maybe imperialism that we have to pride ourselves in our own way of doing things, our own identity. Because with imperialism, you could say we had a bit of an identity crisis. Like, who really were we? Another guy, thousands and thousands of miles away, we don't even know their own language, who's over us. So do you think that it has to do something with that?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it does. And because that's the foundation of our country, right? Like that was the building block. So again, like having to prove kind of a unique story and to really, really separate. It's almost also like the pendulum swings. And so it's like the two extreme sides, right? So instead of just being like, okay, we'll come to kind of like this middle ground where we'll take some learnings and some findings from somewhere and we'll just kind of like have this perfect middle ground. It's like, no, we want to be exact opposite of what we came from, what we learned, what we see as kind of not what stands for us. So I mean, it's kind of the same thoughts that I had to the previous answer, or previous question, I should say. It's just, again, like, I don't know. I don't have too much more to expand on it, but...
It's more of the pride of, you know, you are unique.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that we came from our parent country of Great Britain, that we are America. We
are. But at the same time, we have always prided ourselves as very multicultural and accepting and saying like, we're going to take all these different cultures and try to become a melting pot, which is, it just comes with a whole lot. Like, how do you figure that out? Like, is there another example in history of a country that really melded together all of these different cultures? Like, not really. No. There's no guidebook, right? There's no script that our country could follow. We were just kind of saying like, we want to be unique. We want to separate ourselves from the past, and this is what we stand for. So we're going to stand strong and firm in that, so that we can create a successful future for all that's going on around us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from. So, what do you think it takes to get our youth, our high school youth, to kind of meld together and really, instead of, you know, just say, oh, I learned from the textbook, I know about your history. When you go to Singapore, like, no, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to the culture, to the people, to the food, that, you know, how do you think America can solve the problem, not really problem, the, I guess,
bridge the gap, maybe.
Bridge the gap
yeah.
from us to everybody.
Them.
Yeah, them.
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest things, and again, it's like kind of drawing on personal experience, is that in almost every case, if one individual gets outside of themselves, like, and it's a humbling thing a lot of times, like saying like, I might know things, but being open to learning from anyone else and being excited about serving or just about listening, because a lot of times serving someone is listening to their story. So I think the more that we can encourage people to not only like serve others, but to like collaboratively work together. And I think what you're doing is an example of that. Exactly. Like telling stories so that people can learn. Like, even though we're all from the same country, we all have stark differences and contrasts in the way that we've been raised and what we believe and what our religion is and what our ethnicity is, all of these things. So I think the more we encourage people, like I said, to get outside of themselves and humble themselves to listen, that is like one of the biggest steps. Because I have so many examples in my life of where it's like you just, if you become more and more self-centered, like me, and not like, oh, me this, it's like just, what do I want to do and who do I want to be and those are great questions. But if you're actively seeking them by serving others, giving to others, listening to stories, telling stories, I think that's a much better pursuit. And I think it's a really, really good big step to bridging any kind of gap or divide between us and them. Like even just that language, because I think we have us and them here in San Diego, right? We have us and them all over the US. We have us and them with Canada, us and them with Mexico, like people that are right here, let alone the rest of the world. So the more people just kind of humble themselves, I just kind of repeat myself, but get outside of yourself. I think that's kind of like the biggest first step that we have to take in terms of maybe solving a problem or just encouraging collaboration and unity. Like we're all people, the whole world. We're all people. We all like love. We all fall in love. We all get angry.
Yeah.
We all put our pants on one leg at a time.
Yeah.
Right? So even though you might speak a different language or whatever, like we all smile and that carries a really long way and we can all lend a hand. And I think that again is the biggest step to bridging any gap.
Wow, so that answered my last question.
Yay!
The way we can cultivate that environment. But thank you so much for talking to us.
Oh, you're so welcome. This is lovely.
It was great.
Yeah, I think I'm way younger than I am. Number one.
Well, your spirit, I think it is. So.
Well, thank you. But I am so impressed by your, like, even the idea when you told me, I was like, this is a great outlet. Like, we should, like, people your age, kids your age should be doing things like this. And I think this is an exact step in, like I said, bridging that divide, any divide that may exist in the world.